So I'm at the ScreenBeam stand and I'm excited because I've managed to grab a couple of minutes with the VP of the company himself, Mr. Mike Eilenberger. Hello, Mike.
Hello, how are you?
Are you having a good show so far?
It's a fantastic show. We're really enjoying showing off our new technology at BETT this year.
Mike, I understand that visitors are seeing something pretty special from you guys this week, so perhaps you could tell us about the ScreenBeam 1000 EDU.
The ScreenBeam 1000 EDU is a wireless presentation system that combines itself with classroom orchestration technology. And so now classrooms where they're using Windows 10 devices for students or Chromebook devices for students can be controlled and managed by the teacher and also provide connectivity to the wireless presentation system. So essentially the teacher can roam around the classroom, drive the front of room curriculum from wherever they are, and also be able to monitor the students and see actually what's going on their screens without actually standing behind them. And it gives them a great level of control.
I've been doing my research and I was looking at your website and you talk about reverse engineering the modern classroom. Can you explain what you mean by that?
So again, what it does, it gives the teachers a very simple interface that they can use. They see thumbnails of the student devices as the students are working on them, and they can say, hey, I need the student to get back on task. And maybe what they do is they send them a little message, hey, back on task. Or when it's time for heads-up instructional, and they don't want the devices to be a distraction, which is an issue in a modern classroom, they can actually control all those student devices. They can blank out their screen, send a little message, 1, 2, 3, all eyes on me. Now I'm back in instructional mode, I've got all the students' attention, and when I want them back at work, I can then release those screens and allow the students to have control and use of their device again. And that all happens through this very simple interface, and again, all while the teacher is mobile. So they've got all this mobility and then all of this control.
So all these thousands of schools that are already using ScreenBeam, what are they telling you about what is happening there? What's the impact?
So it really is start with the end in mind. What is the goal that you have for your modern classroom? How are you going to design it? What we've learned after deploying almost 400,000 classrooms now with ScreenBeam technology is that oftentimes the ScreenBeam wireless display system kind of comes towards the end of the project. And they find that, hey, we could have saved money in other areas if we had put this ahead of some of the other purchases or some of the other planning we did. So what we say is, start with the end in mind. Let's get mobile. Let's make that connectivity happen. Let's focus on that teacher device to make sure that it's a strong device for mobility for that teacher. And then let's move on to the student devices from there. And you'll find that there's a lot of cost savings. You'll find that there's certain things that you just don't need. Like in the front of the room, all you really need is a good display, or maybe a great projector, or if you want interactive, you just need a dumb interactive screen in the front of the room. You don't really need, a full smartboard setup, because the smartboard, the computer, is the teacher's device, it is the student's computer. So you can start to save money in those spaces and then take those dollars and put them towards things that are really important, that are going to be really impactful. The worst case scenario is when you do a whole classroom transformation and you end up where you started, but maybe with a little shinier classroom. In other words, the teacher's not mobile, they'll still chain to their battle stations at the front of the room. And yes, they've got a better computer, and yes, the display in the front of the room looks better, but from a teacher's perspective, it's all about how can I be enabled to engage with my student? How can I as a teacher drive better learning outcomes? How's this technology going to help me drive those better learning outcomes? And when I put the technology in the students' hands, how can they use this tool and make it truly a tool for good and not something that's going to be distracted in the classroom? And that's what ScreenBeam's all about when it comes to education.
We know budgets are tight. How would you go about persuading a school business manager to invest in the ScreenBeam 1000 EDU instead of or above another investment?
Absolutely, budgets are tight and every dollar is precious. Even when you have a big budget, every dollar still is very, very precious. And so where ScreenBeam really helps is that it reduces the total cost of deploying a modern classroom. The simple things like I can eliminate pulling cable in new construction. I don't have to put Ethernet everywhere. I don't have to put HDMI everywhere. That's thousands and thousands of dollars out of every single room's budget just there in new construction. In retrofit, you also have similar scenarios where you might need to do cabling projects that, if you're not using wireless display, that can be eliminated when you're using wireless display. So, and finally, really, using wireless display really puts the power back in the instructor's hands. So things that we bought in the past from a technology perspective, like document cameras, so that we could get back into showing people, showing students objects and manipulatives. Now you've got document cameras that are already built into the device. It's called the camera on the device. We see teachers that are in makerspace classrooms or in robotics classrooms or art classrooms walking around with a tablet device. They use the camera and they'll actually say, hey class, and they'll point their camera at the student's work. Check out what this student is doing. And sometimes they'll even snap a picture and then take out their stylus and annotate. This is really innovative. This is something I'm really impressed with, and it's all happening at the front of the room. But guess what? The teacher's not at the front of the room. The teacher's in the room. The teacher's interacting with the students. And the learning outcomes when the teacher's just so involved with the students are that much greater. So really, when it comes to how do you save money, you put the dollars in the right places and you get the most out of the devices that you're buying, and don't pay for the same thing twice. And starting with ScreenBeam, starting with the end in mind is going to help you solve that problem.
Okay, we're nearly out of time, but I know that there is something else really important that you wanted to talk about. Can you tell me about Classroom Commander?
Yeah, absolutely. So Classroom Commander, first of all, we are announcing Classroom Commander for Chromebook here at BET this year. So we're super excited about that. And Classroom Commander puts all the power back in the teacher's hands. So when you have student devices in the classroom, you want to make sure that they're not going to be a distraction. And what Classroom Commander does is it gives the teacher a simple interface that they can see each of the little thumbnails of the student devices live, and they can zoom into the student device to see what work they're doing. Okay, they can allow the teacher to shut down the student devices during instructional time, like we talked about earlier. You can also push a URL or push content to that student from the teacher. So if you want everybody surfing to the same website at the same time, you can do that through Classroom Commander, and it just gives you so much more. It's profoundly important in the Chrome environment, okay, because one of the challenges in Chrome is that you can't really access control from a wireless display standpoint like you can with Microsoft. So with Classroom Commander for Chromebooks, now the teacher not only has the ability to display his or her content, but also can choose which student's content they want beaming up to the front of the room. So both Classroom Commander for Chromebook and Classroom Commander for Windows have those same features. When it's presentation day, usually it used to be presentation week when I was a kid, because we just all had to take turns and maybe 2 or 3 students could get to the front of the room to do a 5-minute presentation, in a single class period. Now literally the teacher can switch from student to student to student from his or her device and project them to the front of the screen, and they've got complete control while they're doing that. So it's a really exciting product.
Okay, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. I'm sure that you're looking forward to explaining this to all the visitors to your stand, but for schools who don't have a representative here this week, how can they find out more?
Yeah, so if you don't have people here at BET, you can go to www.screenbeam.com. Also here in the UK, we've got a fantastic distribution partner called Douglas Stewart. They've got very well-trained staff. They can answer any questions for you. And they can also get you in touch with our local teams here in the UK and across Europe. We're very hands-on with the customers. We want to make sure that you've got success. So we've got great partners and a great team here to help ensure that you're going to have great results.
Thanks again. Have a great show.
Thank you for having me.